Hi, I'm Eric Bolling in for Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us. Let's get right to our lead guest tonight, Donald Trump, who joins us now by phone from Washington, D.C. Donald, it's been quite a day for you. Earlier today, you had a surprise meeting with the RNC. First of all, tell us what that was all about.
Well, it was a very good meeting. We met with Reince Preibus and the staff, and they're very good people, actually a terrific meeting, I think. And it's really a unity meeting. You know, we're leading by a lot. We have far and away the most delegates, millions and millions of votes more than anybody else, than Ted has or than, Kasich has. And we really, I think they wanted to really discuss, unity, and I like discussing unity, too. It's theoretically, and my whole life, I mean, people wouldn't sort of understand this, a lot of people, but it's been about unity. I get along with people. I get along with them very well. So we had a very good meeting with the RNC.
Who's called the meeting, Donald? Did you or did they call it?
I think it was probably mutually called. We've been talking and we've been dealing a lot. We've been tabulating up. As you know, Missouri just came in where we won Missouri. The tabulation just was finalized, and we actually picked up additional votes. And we had a great time in Missouri.
Right. I know, but someone had to pick up the phone or send the email or the text to the other. I'm curious if they're the ones who.
I'm not even sure. I think it was very mutually set up, and I was in Washington because we had a foreign policy team meeting today. We have some wonderful people that we met with on a board. I'm setting up a board with various people having to do with foreign policy. I did that, and then I go back shortly tomorrow. I'm going back to Wisconsin, and I look forward to that. We just had a great BPP poll come out. I guess I picked up quite a bit in terms of the Wisconsin vote, but nationwide we're leading big leagues. So I think that's why RNC wanted to meet with us.
The reason why I asked, Donald, is last night I told the folks right before the show, before taping of the show, I got a call from leadership at the RNC, and they wanted to talk about this thing that I've been talking about for a few days now. It's this whether or not rules can be changed at the convention, at the RNC convention. Interestingly, after the show last night, I got another call from RNC leadership, and they wanted to talk about the same thing. So, and I keep trying to find out if that can happen. So instead of hearing it, I went and did my own homework, and it turns out, and I want you to weigh in on this because I think this is extremely important, especially actually to all three of the GOP nominees. Rule 42, there are 42 rules in the RNC handbook, the rule book. Rule 42 says rules 26 through 42 are deemed temporary. Now, the problem is that 1237 rule that says the majority plus one gets the nomination falls at Rule 40D and E. So basically, the 1237 number is a temporary rule that they can change at the convention. Did you address that with the RNC?
We really didn't. I think it would be very hard to discuss that, frankly, and maybe to do something about that. As far as I'm concerned, I think we're going to meet that number. I will say this, if we're close to that number, because we're way ahead of
but Donald, they can even if you get 1237 or 1240, they can say, instead of a majority, this rules committee says it's going to be a supermajority and you're going to need 1,600.
No, that won't happen. We have millions of people more than anybody else. I have millions and millions of people more than anybody else. What's happening has really been a phenomenon. It's been reported all over. It's really one of the big stories in all of politics worldwide. The Republican count for votes is up so much since 4 years ago. Like some of the places are up over 100%. Lines are 5 blocks long. It's been amazing. So I don't think anybody would even think about playing around with that.
All right, maybe you should get Reince and the RNC to sign a pledge.
Well, I will say this. I'll go a step further, though. I think that if we get the 1237, if we break the 1237, that's fine. But I think, frankly, if you look at it, we had many, many people running, so that many of those early primaries, we'd have 10 people and 7 people and 6 people would have a lot of people in them. Right. And it's very, very hard to break that number. Despite that, I think I'll break that number. However, if we're millions of votes ahead of everyone else and hundreds of delegates ahead of everyone else, I really think that whoever has that kind of an advantage should get it. I think it's awfully hard to take it away.
And this is Donald Trump. Just post the meeting with the RNC so that the viewers take that how you will. All right, Donald, that took some of the attention away from a firestorm you set off yesterday after your interview about What should happen to women who get abortions if the procedure becomes illegal? I want to play for our folks.
Do you believe
do
you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
10 cents, 10 years,
I don't
what?
know. That I don't know. That
Why
I don't
not?
know. I don't know.
You take positions on everything else.
Frankly, I do take positions on everything else. It's a very complicated position.
Now, we know you've since clarified your point in written statements, but we want to hear it from you.
But you really had to hear the whole thing. I mean, this was a long, convoluted question. This was a long discussion, and they just cut it out. And frankly, it was really convoluted. And if, in fact, abortion was outlawed, the person performing the abortion, the doctor or whoever it may be, that's really doing the act or is responsible for the act, not the woman is responsible. So that's the way I've always felt. I've had the same stance exactly as Ronald Reagan. I mean, I've had it from the beginning. So my stance is the exact same as Ronald Reagan.
So a lot of people are making a lot of hay out of this. Now I'm trying to figure out, did you misspeak or did you misunderstand the question?
Well,
or
it could be that I misspoke, but this was a long, convoluted subject. We talked about Catholicism and his religion, and Chris went back and forth about that, and this was a very long, convoluted discussion, which frankly they don't run on television because it was too long. Mm-hmm. But just as I said it, and I must tell you, this is the same. My stance is the same stance as Ronald Reagan, and if in fact abortion was outlawed, the person performing that act is responsible, not the woman.
Okay. Another topic that came up last night was nuclear proliferation, the whole nuclear idea, whether or not other people should get it, how we would respond, keeping things on or off the table. Let's play for the folks.
Can you tell the Middle East we're not using a nuclear weapon?
I would never say that. I would never take any of my cards off the table.
How about Europe? We won't use it in Europe.
I'm not going to take it off the table.
You might use it in Europe?
No, I don't think so. But I'm not
just say it. I'll never use a nuclear weapon in Europe.
I am not taking cards off the table. I'm not going to use nukes, but I'm not taking any cards off the table.
The trouble is this.
Okay. What's that all about?
I don't want to take cards off the table. I'd never do that. The last person to press that button would be me. Hey, I'm the one that didn't want to go into Iraq from the beginning. The last person that wants to play the nuclear card, believe me, is me. But you can never take cards off the table, either from a moral standpoint, from any standpoint, and certainly from a negotiating standpoint.
Hey, Donald, I understand that they're not taking the cards off the table for ISIS or Islamic terror, but when Chris expanded to Europe, what about that?
Europe's a big place. I'm not going to take cards off the table. We have nuclear capability. Now, our capability is going down rapidly because of what we're doing. It's in bad shape. The equipment is not properly maintained. There's a whole lot of talk about that, and that's a bad thing, not a good thing. The last person to use nuclear would be Donald Trump. That's the way I feel. I think it is a horrible thing. The thought of it is horrible. But I don't want to take anything off the table. We have to negotiate. There'll be times maybe when we're going to be in a very deep, very difficult, very horrible negotiation. The last person, I'm not going to take it off the table. And I said it yesterday, and I stay with it.
Don, you said you had a meeting or you're gathering a group of foreign policy experts. Anyone in particular we should know about? We'd like to know. Who are they?
We're going to give, actually, tomorrow we're releasing the group, and we had some really good people today. We had some amazing discussions. And this topic of nuclear was discussed, and everybody agrees with me. You don't take it off the table. Why would we take it off the table? It's a very strong negotiating point. Hopefully we never have to use it even as a negotiating point. But certainly you don't take it off the table. We had a group of very talented people. This is all they do. And actually, a number of them commented that what I said was absolutely correct as to nuclear. Now, they also felt I was right as to NATO, because we're paying a disproportionate share of NATO, and NATO is largely obsolete, and it's got to be restructured, and it's got to be changed, and other countries have to pay some of the bill. We owe Eric $19 trillion, and we can't go around being the policeman of the world and supporting a big, I think it's 72 or 73% of NATO, and other countries are benefiting. We're paying the tab.
I know a lot of people
continue to do that.
A lot of people on the left saying you want to disband NATO. I don't understand that. But Donald, before we go, we only have about a minute or so.
Just Eric, let me clarify. I never said that. I don't want to disband NATO, but I don't want to pay for a vast majority of the cost of NATO either.
Right.
It's benefiting all of these countries. You have 28 countries in there. It's benefiting all of these countries, and some of them pay virtually nothing. They pay peanuts. It's not fair.
Right.
So we have to be treated fairly, and we're not being treated fairly worldwide. Whether it's NATO or trade or anything else, we're not being treated fairly.
This meeting of foreign policy minds, only about 30 seconds or so. Is this are these going to be advisors to you, or is just a back and forth you wanted to have a discussion?
No, these will be advisors. These are very talented people, highly respected people. These would be advisors.
All right. We're going to leave it right there. Mr. Donald Trump, thank you very much.